Professor صليبي, it's an absolute pleasure to be sitting here with you. What was the war last year between Lebanon and Israel? What was that all about? Why was Israel's response to Hezbollah so fierce and so comprehensive?
Well, the war was not between Lebanon and Israel. The war was between Hezbollah and Israel, or Israel and Hezbollah. And the punishment, from the point of view of Israel, was Lebanon was being punished for something that it had not done.
And do you think
what I felt about it something entirely different. I was very happy that the Israelis got a licking, and they were being very arrogant, and not a state or something, but a party, and a relatively small party gave them a licking, which I thought was kind of poetic justice. And at the time, I must say, I was supportive of Hezbollah. Now, since then, it became different. I mean, when Hezbollah turned the use of its muscles to internal Lebanese affairs, then my position naturally changed.
Do you think that was the reaction of most Lebanese at the time to support Hezbollah's resistance?
I cannot really tell, because at the time, you didn't move around a great deal, so you didn't know what people were thinking. And then it was summer, and people were on summer vacations. Many people were away. So I didn't have a chance to see whether at the time people thought I think many people did feel the way I do, because it wasn't thinking, it was feeling. I think many people felt the way I do. That, enough of that arrogance. Pushing a small country around, which had not done Israel any harm. Israel has a quarrel with Hezbollah, that's something entirely different. And I imagine that many people felt that way, but I cannot prove it.
It seems the relationship between Lebanon and Israel, is it always going to be tense?
The relationship between Lebanon and Israel has depended and will always depend on the relations between Israel and the Palestinians. Israel has a problem at home or on the broader scene of what used to be mandatory Palestine. Now, once this problem is solved, everything will become different, I suppose. So, while this problem is not solved, Lebanon cannot have relations with Israel.
Do you think the Israelis want to solve the Palestinian question?
Well, they should, but I sometimes feel that the Palestinian question has stopped really being a question that can be discussed rationally. That, there is this side that wants to achieve this, and that side that wants to achieve that, and if they sit at the table, they can possibly reach an agreement. It's this side wants to spite this other side, and vice versa, and it is a game of spite, counter-spite, and this is the way it looks to me. Now, while it is this way, I mean, the problem cannot be solved except by an intervention which right now, an external intervention that right now seems to be impossible.
Do you think Israel has designs on southern Lebanon up to the Litani River?
Well, I suppose if you offer Israel water, Israel will take the water, will accept the offer. I don't think myself that Israel is going to wage a war against Lebanon to take the Litani waters.
I think there are some Zionist documents, though, where they do see Israel going up to the Litani.
Well, I think originally the plan was, to reach the Litani, but I'm not familiar with Israeli documents.
Israel seems to have a policy of collective punishment as a response to whatever happens, which then ends up making it seems to make it the neighbourhood bully. Is that how you see it?
Well, Israel is certainly enjoying pushing people around. I mean, so it seems. It's not very healthy behavior. I mean, I don't think Israel profits by it. In fact, on the contrary, Israel loses by it. But as I told you at the beginning, it's not a question of gain and loss. It's a question of who teases the other more, who gets at the other more. And both sides, I used to think they were afraid of peace. No, they are not afraid of peace. They have structured their time for destructive give and take, and not for constructive give and take. And they've gotten used to the time being structured this way. So that's how they'll go on, it seems to me.
Would Israel want Lebanon to take in the Palestinians that it's at the moment got in camps, like at Shatila and Sabra and so on? Would it like the Lebanese to admit them as citizens so that it doesn't have to deal with the problem of their right of return?
I suppose so.
Is that would Lebanon see that as a possibility?
They didn't tell me this, but I imagine so. I mean, logically, if Lebanon absorbs the Palestinian population resident on its territory, it will solve, it will reduce a pressure on Israel. And
would Lebanese accept that? Would that be a popular thing?
Well, the proof of the pudding is, it has to be put to the proof of the pudding.
Okay. Lebanese politics seems to have gone back to the bickering, the old age bickering along confessional lines. And do you think that Lebanon can survive the current period and hold together?
Yes. I think Lebanon is okay myself. My feeling is that things are not as bad as they seem. I mean, pressures are being brought on Lebanon which are very difficult to bear. But so far, strangely, the country is managing. Now, there are many things today which are much better than they used to be before. For example, placing the Shia aside and some Christians aside, who are getting fewer, I understand. For the first time in the short history of Lebanon, which began in 1920, the Sunnis, by and large the Christians, and the Druze are all very much on one side and have fallen in love with one another. So we are soon going to have a new household. What the crossbreeding will produce, I don't know, but this has never existed before, and people don't notice it. I lived most of my life with my country divided between sects that hated one another's guts. And for the first time, I find that certainly three of the most important groups see more than eye to eye. And then, when it comes to the Shia, I wouldn't take their resounding word for it. They are not free to express themselves as they want, possibly. They are being pushed around by their own bosses. So, and to my knowledge, I mean, there are Shia who don't like it. Now, so possibly Lebanon is more coherent today than it has ever been. Now, of course, you need whatever it is, that little spark that makes things gel. And we're hoping for this. I'm hoping for this spark to spark. But
what is the glue that holds Lebanon together?
the glue is now everybody is Arab. Everybody likes to eat tabbouleh and kibbe and whatever it is. They all like the same songs. They are all equally genuine and all phony in the same way. They all like to go downtown and eat in the restaurants, and I mean, they are the same people. Now, the fact that in theory they follow different religions is becoming more irrelevant by the minute. Now, some people are trying their best to make a last bit of use of what at one time was significant, when Lebanon was a confederation of tribes called sects. Now, politicians are interested in this, of course, some politicians. Some politicians have learned their lesson and are no longer this way. Some politicians who, during what we call the Civil War, were doing this line, have learned their lesson, have made their peace with what used to be the other side. Are prepared to be more than reasonable, to bend over backwards, to be accommodating, etc., etc., etc. Some of them are bent on being as nasty as they can. Still, I mean, I mean, I'd like things to develop beyond this, this business of the president has to be a Maronite and the prime minister has to be a Sunni Muslim. I mean, it's becoming more and more irrelevant to real life.
Well, to an outsider,
Sorry?
to an outsider, it seems that there's an urgent need for electoral reform because the Christians seem to be overrepresented and the Shia seem to be underrepresented.
Well, you see, but the Lebanese generally are not asking for electoral reforms for this reason, because the overrepresentation of a Christian is by Muslim consent. If you want Lebanon, I mean, what is the importance of Lebanon? The importance of Lebanon is that it is a free country. You can write what you like, you can say what you like, you can, and hope for the best. And you can eat what you like. You can fast if you want, and not fast if you want. You can, etc., etc., etc. And at the time you wish, and you can say to hell with it altogether. Now, for Lebanon to remain this way, which is what practically all the Lebanese want, I suppose there is a minority of some size who don't want this, who want to have a confessional state, a theocracy or something. I suppose there are. But as I see it, the majority want this. Now, for a Muslim to enjoy his evening drink without somebody reporting him to the police, he needs the Christian. The Christian gives him his freedom. You see? And for this reason, it was the Muslims who decided that the president of the country will always be Christian. Now, perhaps the evening drink can be guaranteed without the president being Maronite. Because right now we have around the worst president we have known. So, from an outsider's point of view, it's numbers that count, and democracy is statistics. From the Lebanese point of view, it is keeping Lebanon as it is that counts. And to keep Lebanon as it is, you have to pretend that the Christians are more numerous than they actually are.
So one man, one vote.
Sorry?
One man, one vote, the usual test of democracy, is not for Lebanon.
No, because it will produce a situation where it will produce the sort of real democracy that can be abducted by a loudmouth and a bully, which is what has happened so often. It happened in the Roman Republic. Well, it ended up with a very wise man becoming dictator, but he was a dictator nonetheless, and he was followed by monsters.
So Lebanon should not go back and become part of Syria?
Well, I mean, I don't see that the issue arises. But certainly, to begin with, Lebanon was never part of Syria, and Syria was never part of Lebanon, because there is neither a Lebanon nor a Syria in history. They are both recent phenomena of the same age, and it is perhaps unfortunate that the twins were born at the same time and turned out to be quarrelsome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.